Not going to ruin it. There's a quote in the interview, and I think everyone will agree that baseball and hot dogs go great together. So everyone, please listen to Ralph Perazzo, Snap-O-Razzo hot dogs. Someone once said, it was actually Humphrey Bogart, a hot dog at the game beats roast beef at the Ritz. Hot dogs and baseball, it's been a perfect combination forever. Our guest has a passion for hot dogs. Call them Frankfurters, call them hot dogs. We'll find out what we should call them. But he makes an awesome dog. We know because we met him twice, actually, at Pig Beach at the Jeff Mitchner Foundation benefit. Our guest is Ralph Perazzo of Snap-O-Razzo. Ralph, we are thrilled to welcome you and your incredible product to the Baseball and
Thank you
BBQ
so much.
Podcast.
I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad we're finally able to connect.
Yes, we are as well. Reading everything about you, you're actually from our area. You from New York and Long Island.
Yeah, born and raised.
And that's where you developed your passion for hot dogs?
I mean, my passion for sausage in general was from a young age. You know, I come from an 100% Italian family, so there was sausage always on the table at some sort of shape, right? So I always tell people, Ritex Kudis, he was the original sausage maker for a great book called The Great Book of Sausage Making. He was the original owner of SausageMaker.com, which is out in Buffalo, New York. It's been around for 50 years. Purchased my first VHS tape, to show my age, from their website at like 15, 14 years old. And I was already making sausage at the house with family, you know, just doing basic stuff, you know, sweet Italian, hot Italian. And it kind of started from there. I've had an infatuation with hot dogs since I was a kid. You know, growing up in New York, going to Jewish delis and getting a great kosher dog, or going, you know, to the local butcher shop and getting a homemade one. You know, I was very fortunate to be around it. Even being a child and visiting my grandparents in Brooklyn and going down to Nathan's, you know, so hot dogs are very New York, are very American. And back then it was a product that, you know, when you ate it, it was so, like, how do I say this? It had such an impact as a young child, you know, eating a great charred hot dog in the backyard, or getting that crispy, naturally cased hot dog from the sausage maker in town, you know, at my local Italian pork store or whatnot. So, you know, as I got older, I started working in the culinary industry as a chef as a cook at like 15, 16 years old, got my first gig, totally illegal, working at that age. But, you know, I met some great people and got pushed in the right direction to go to the Culinary Institute of America. And I'll never forget my first day of charcuterie. It was an amazing experience because I learned how to emulsify product at a certain temperature, and learning the difference between cold smoke, hot smoke, difference in casings and whatnot. And after that class, I was infatuated. You know, I bought a little 5-pound stuffer, a little smoker. I bought a real meat grinder. I actually still have my grandmother's meat grinder get that for me? I'll show it to the guys. So I had a little meat grinder from my great grandmother that I used to use. My fiance's going to grab it for me, that I still have to this day, which was my first meat grinder. You know, I remember buying a bigger, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is my,
oh, look at that.
My grandma's meat grinder.
Yeah.
It's kind of a personal heirloom, as they
That's
say.
nice.
So, you know, as I got to culinary school, I was making sausage on the weekends, and started working in a great restaurant called Jean Georges in New York City back in the heyday in like the late 90s. Chef Gabriel Gruther, who's a great chef, he's a very big guy in New York now. He saw my passion, and we used to get suckling pigs in all the time. And Chef Gabriel and Jean Georges would let me cut the cheeks out of the pigs, and I was like a squirrel. I would cut cheeks every week at all the pigs coming in, and then I would freeze it all. And then once I got 4 or 5 pounds, I would take it home with me on the train and make sausage that weekend. And that's when I learned how cheek fat is so amazing for sausage. The joke was Jean Georges would walk into the walk-in, there'd be pigs hanging with all the cheeks missing, big holes in each side of the pig. So I owe a lot to Jean Georges in that era of cooking, you know, getting cheek fat and quality pork fat back and things like that, and learning about quality pork and different cuts and taking it home and cooking. And I would actually bring the sausages I made to the kitchen to like give it to all the chefs to get approvals. I was like a young cook looking up to them. A great Frenchman named Eric Hubert. He was a great pastry chef, dear friend, definitely one of the most inspirational people in my life. He had an infatuation with cured meats, and would tell me he was from Brittany, France, and he would tell me about the charcuterie in France. And I would make different dry cured sausages and stuff, and I'd bring them in, and we'd eat them during lunch or during when we were prepping or whatnot. And it kind of grew into a thing. I always dreamed of having a sausage or a hot dog company. Fast forward my whole culinary career, working from every kind of restaurant you could think of to owning my own butcher shop and restaurant. And when COVID happened, it was kind of like a wake-up call. I couldn't work in the restaurant. I was kind of forced to create something for an income. And I say it all the time. I was sitting in my apartment. My fiance is like, why don't you just make your hot dogs? Everybody loves your hot dogs. Because I used to make a lot of pork and beef hot dogs for culinary events, because everybody would bring their caviar and their foie gras, and I was showing up with a quality hot dog and had a line at the event. So I kind of got known as the hot dog guy. Go to the hot dog guy at these events. It's a great story. I mean, I called some family friends in New York that have been in the meat cutting business for over 50 years. The Castellano family. They own Prime Foods Distributors in Long Island, New York. And the old man used to make the Nathans and the Sabrettes back in the 70s and 80s in his plant in Florida. I kind of sent them some samples of my own hot dogs that I made, and they kind of called me and said, you need to do this. They kind of gave me the ins and outs of it, how to look for a plant, just the business side of manufacturing hot dogs. They don't do that anymore. So we shot for the stars, made about, 100 to 200 pounds, drove around Las Vegas where I live now, and everyone was cooped up in their house with COVID. They called me the hot dog Santa. I was giving out free hot dogs all over Las Vegas. Me and my fiance, Bailey, we created a page on Facebook, and all we asked for was for people to leave comments and reviews. We got amazing feedback, and we did a second round. People were just ecstatic about it. And then we decided to do like a pre-sale, completely illegal again, where we were going to do 1,000 pounds, and we took pre-orders. We put a page up and on Facebook, and basically we let people know about it on social, and we sold out of 1,000 pounds in like less than 6 hours. Wow. We had to shut it down because we couldn't fulfill all the orders, and we were shipping people all over the country, FedEx too. So people were paying, $100, $200 in shipping just to get 2 pounds of my hot dogs. So that was kind of like we had something here. People were waiting for it. After that, we had a great chef friend of mine, Gino Bernardo. He's the chef of the Summit Club here in Las Vegas. It's a very prestigious golf course. He loved my hot dogs, dear friend from Jersey. He said, listen, I have, Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. He comes in here all the time. He loves hot dogs. He's like, get me some hot dogs. I want to put it in front of him. And pretty much Mark Davis came in. I still have the picture, I think, on a Facebook, the original picture of Mark Davis holding my hot dogs. He served them our hot dogs, and Mark Davis said, this is amazing. I love it. Let's get this guy in the stadium. And that pretty much was the kickstart of, right. Wow, this is amazing. So when we were in the process of interviewing USDA meat plants to process our formulations and our recipes, that was a big anchor, right? Hey, we got a spot in Raider Stadium that's opening brand new. Right. And the stadium wasn't even open yet. A lot more to tell, but that's kind of like the quick version. I don't know what questions you want to add.
Yeah. I just think it's amazing that, just really just started a few years ago, and now you're in Alliance Stadium in Vegas. Any plans to grow into other stadiums, being the official hot dog of, baseball, football, and whatnot?
So as you know, the hot dog industry is very large. There's a lot of big corporate companies that, I'm not going to name the brands here, that are owned by overseas companies like in China and some parts of the UK that are not really American brands anymore, that are, have the stronghold of the market. So we're still the small guy. If people want a quality high-end hot dog, I'm their guy. If they want a cheap, high volume hot dog, I am not their guy, right? Because we're using quality whole muscle, naturally smoking, we'll get into all that. But we have gotten into a couple of stadiums, Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. We have 2 booths there. They buy our hot dogs. Just made the Musgrove dog for the Padres pitcher with Saquon Casino. So those people have reached out. We're talking with them. The Reds, Cincinnati Reds, have brought in our product for their VIP suites. Very, very thankful for them. So, we're slowly getting opportunities. We've had a couple of stadiums reach out for us to be the hot dog of their team, which we're working out. Nothing has been signed yet. In September, I'm coming to New York. We're cooking at Yankee Stadium, which I'm really excited about. Getting in front of the Steinbrenner family and hopefully getting a little booth there or something. It's a dream of mine to be in Yankee Stadium. So, as far as stadium business, it's been 2 years with Allegiant Stadium, right? Two plus years. And we're slowly gaining traction in the sport world. Hot dogs are being noticed. People want a quality hot dog. In Los Angeles, we do a lot of big business in Los Angeles. We were just in Forbes magazine. I don't know if you guys saw that. Bailey can send it to you. Yep. With Tail of the Pup, an iconic hot dog brand. They're doing so well with our products, and we made a custom dog for them that a local, very big baseball team noticed, and they did reach out to me. And they see that we're gaining ground in Los Angeles, and there may be some big opportunity there. So as we grow in the food service sales with our distributors nationally, the other sport arena opportunities seem to be coming in.
You mentioned that you're very excited about going to Yankee Stadium, but Citi Field is the stadium that has the better food options. That's been known here. So you might want to go to Citi Field, and Yankees have plenty already. Come to Citi Field.
Hey, I'm from Long Island. Love to be in the Mets too. Wherever the opportunity lies, we're servicing an amazing Italian pork store in the Bronx, Calabria. Have you ever heard of Calabrian Pork Store? They got the sausage chandelier. They're like grandfathered in. Oh, you guys gotta go.
We gotta go. It's right.
It's right on. You gotta go. It's right on Arthur Avenue. It's been there for 45, 50 plus years. I walked in there when we were in the Bronx. This guy Pete is one of the owners. I was looking at all the sausage, and the first thing I said to him was like, the health department doesn't break your horns with all this salami hanging, or all this mold, And he starts laughing, and he's like, "We're grandfathered in," which they are. It's one of the last places in the country that are allowed to do this. The sausages, the dry cured sausage is just incredible. We started talking sausage, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I actually, manufacture hot dogs, blah, blah, blah." Gave him my business card. We spoke the same language per se, and now he sells Snap-O-Razzo hot dogs in his butcher shop, Italian pork store on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. So he constantly texts me and says, people are loving the hot dogs. They're incredible. We had a couple of Yankees come in. A lot of the Yankees go in there once in a while. We notice where our product, where people can grab it, is where we see the opportunities come in. Like our inbox for our website, we constantly get emails from people in the areas that our products being sold in food service. Like Sarge's Deli in Midtown, we make their hot dogs now. They promote it on their website. It's a 50-year-old iconic food deli. The owners are great people. They just wanted a great hot dog. Hot dogs have changed since we were kids, right? I mean, there's different. They're definitely using different proteins, different product in it, different ingredients. The same brands we ate 20, 30 years ago, or even 15 years ago, definitely don't taste the same. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
No, yeah, that's true. So, Ralph, it's funny because I was going to ask you. I was going to say you're a New York boy, and yet where can I get your hot dogs in New York? But you're kind of answering it. I know that because I saw like they're sold at Kroger's, but we don't have Kroger's here. So
we're growing. As far as New York, we don't have any retail sales except for places like that pork store I mentioned.
Right.
We're mostly in restaurants and bars at the moment, like Big Beach and places like that.
Right.
We're growing. We're in the Ritz-Carlton in Central Park South. That's crazy, right? We're in one of the most prestigious hotels in New York City. Sarge's, you can go there and grab a hot dog. They're marketing it. We sell them our beefy butcher dog, which is our new hot dog that's got no sugar, fresh onions and garlic, the first of its kind. we actually, when you eat the hot dog, you can see little pieces of fresh onion and garlic in the hot dog. We actually get the sweetness from the onions and garlic, where it's very hard to make a hot dog or a sausage without a little sugar. So I'm very proud of that product. That's a new product we launched. So, I would say for you to get a dog quick, Sarge's Deli or the Pork Store or our e-commerce, or Greenport Brewing is a big supporter out in Long Island. He constantly is promoting it. Lucharitos, Mexican concept, they're bringing in a bunch of our dogs. We're kind of spread out between these bars and restaurants. A lot of great places in New York City. What's that hot dog concept that just opened up in Midtown? Lovely's is bringing it in. It's a great burger spot. So we just started distributing in New York. So we're constantly finding out who these customers are. And how it happens is people just tag us on social media, right? Had this amazing Snap-O-Razzo hot dog at this restaurant or that restaurant. We try to keep up with it. We're kind of in hot dog season as we say right now. So we're kind of completely swamped trying to keep up with all the distribution we have nationally.
Also, going back to your New York roots, before you were into the hot dog game, you had a restaurant that was very well known. Now, let's see, It's BBD's, stands for beers, burgers, desserts, and you got the New York City Wine and Food Festival 2015 Burger Bash winner.
Yeah.
And then did you move the restaurant to Vegas? Is that what happened?
So what happened was when we won that award, we were the first restaurant in Long Island to win that. It was really for the 5 boroughs, right? So there was some political stuff there. The hot dogs came from BBD's. We used to bring in whole swing cattle. What that means is we had a relationship with a very great ranch that would slaughter our steer and send us, sides of beef, and we would break it down, grind it for burgers, cut the flat iron out, the steaks. We always would have prime quality beef trim laying around. And we also would bring in pigs and make sausage or whatnot, and we'd have pork scraps laying around. So our hot dogs, we have pictures of like BBD's Long Island where I was making hot dogs there in my little small 30-pound smoker in the back of the restaurant. So the hot dog formulation and actually some of the recipes came from BBD's. And when we did the events, we did the hot dogs. We did an event with BBD's. We would serve hot dogs and burgers, but the hot dogs were the best because I was using all the trim, so it wasn't costing me a lot of money to go do this event and give away food for marketing. But when BBD's took off, we had a great run in New York. The location that we were at, it just wasn't the right place for BBD's to grow. So we got an amazing opportunity to come to Las Vegas with the brand. When we opened Las Vegas, we did it with a casino here in town, which was called Stations Casino. A great experience. We opened it up 3 times the size. Unfortunately, the hotel did not build a second tower or build more rooms where the foot traffic that was there didn't really fit the restaurant and the concept. We chose to move the restaurant to the Las Vegas Strip, where we were working with a couple of different hotels. And then pretty much COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, all bets were off. So all deals were squashed, all bets were off. And that's when, going back to what I said earlier, that's when the Snap-O-Razzo, the hot dog venture really started.
And Ralph, what's this I hear about you pretending to be sick in school so your grandfather would come get you and then take you out to a nice Jewish deli?
So my grandfather Parazzo, he was, an old school Italian guy, and he always did what he wanted. And my parents both worked, and he was that grandpa that would, pick me up from school and take me to the local deli and get a sandwich, or take me to the pork store because they all knew him. And then he would get, all the cold cuts and whatnot, and we go to the house and make sandwiches, and that's my memories of him, and I cherish them. There was times where I played sick at school and tried to have them call my grandfather to pick me up. And he knew what he was doing. And, it was kind of like our thing, It's funny because, like, the school even knew after a while, oh, hey, Grandpa's here again. Ralph's got a sore throat, So I was very, very fortunate. I believe chefs, the ones that have a history of great grandparents or parents that were passionate about food or cooking whatever nationality they are, whatever culture they come from, it all starts there, right? I mean, I was bringing supersada and prosciutto sandwiches at H. Provolone in my lunchbox in 5th grade, picking up the place when everybody had like Lunchables and whatever else was in there. You know what I mean? So I was eating the good stuff at a very young age. And, you know, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, my great-grandmother, she would make amazing fresh mozzarella, homemade wine. I mean, the sauce, everything, the whole Italian stick, as you know, that you would think you would get from an Italian family. And to this day, I still use some of their recipes. The whole idea of using fresh onion and garlic in my hot dog came from my grandfather, who used to save the ends of the onions and the trimmings of the garlic, and he would dehydrate them, and they would save them. And then after 6 months, they would rehydrate them and use them in sausage or use them in a salad. Like they were very cost conscious, right? They were immigrants from Italy who came here and they worked their butt off and created a family, and they knew how to save money. But doing that with the onions and garlic, dehydrating and then reconstituting it, kind of gave the protein and what they were making like a really strong flavor of that onion and garlic. I tell people, like, think about how White Castle, how they have slurries of onion, right? Same kind of thing. You know, if you're doing that and it's in a sausage or if it's in a burger or whatever, it's amazing how that little bit of a technique can influence a dish. So even though they weren't making hot dogs, there's a lot of inspiration from my grandparents and a lot of the sausage making that we do.
You know, Ralph, I've been looking at your website, which, by the way, it's Snap-O-Razzo.com. Spell it out just like it sounds, Snap-O-Razzo.com. And you've been getting such great press. I mean, you've been in Forbes several times. And I'm looking at the article about the Super Bowl foods, and just so happens it was written by a former guest of ours, Larry Olmsted, and it's very, very complimentary of you, of Snap-O-Razzo dogs.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. You know, listen, I'm proud to say we don't have like this big marketing company. You know, I don't have a bankroll where people are calling people for me. This is all organic. You know, we don't have, you know, brokers all over the country selling our product. It's me, my fiance, my 2 dogs, you know, literally. You know, it's grown a lot. And we're very, very fortunate to get noticed. But the reality is when people eat it, they talk about it on social. We live in a different world, right? So we see stuff every day. We see people in Boston, Maine, Florida, Texas, Northern California, places where we're not even sending product yet, you know, ordering our hot dogs on e-commerce, eating them, and then posting these great things, making videos. This is how people are writing about it. Kroger has helped. You know, you mentioned Kroger earlier. We are in about 300 stores of Kroger with our skinless dogs, which are not on our website yet. But in those stores are in Colorado, Vegas, Utah, and New Mexico, right? So we're not really in New York, LA, Chicago, you know, the main states that are kind of like really the hot dog people, right? The people that are the places that are hot dog centric. So it all kind of goes together. Doing things like this, doing a simple podcast with great people like you who ate my hot dog and just wanted to have a conversation. You know, we try to make time for everyone. We're so thankful for people who appreciate a good hot dog. And I realize as I sit here, and we had like 3 of the biggest months in our whole business, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice for me and my fiance, and it's been amazing to see where it's going. And we're just trying to keep it where it's controllable and we can feed the masses in the way that we want to.
You know, you said simple podcast. We are anything but simple. All right, Ralph. Ralph, I mentioned in the intro, hot dog versus Frankfurter. And, you know, when I was a kid, that's when I remember calling it a Frankfurter as a kid. Now you don't hear that anymore. Is there a difference between a hot dog and a Frankfurter?
Well, you know, if you go to the good old Google or Wikipedia, you know, they're the same thing, right? But in Germany, you know, a pork and beef blended product was usually called a Frankfurter, right? And that can be up for argument. But honestly, they both mean the same thing, especially in America. I had a person post the other day that that a hot dog is not a sausage. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Hot dogs are definitely a sausage, right? It's one of the first sausages ever kind of created in a way. It's a peasant thing. So it's really about branding and what you want to call the product. Because listen, we call our land case products wieners, right? Because they're skinny, they're long, they're 6-to-1, they got a natural land casing on them, they're naturally smoked. A true wiener was encased and naturally smoked. You know, after years gone by, a lot of these skinless hot dogs started being called hot dogs. And wieners were wieners. Wieners were known to hang, right? All connected, right? That was what we all thought wieners were, right? So it depends on part of the country you go in. It depends who you talk to. It's all subjective. You know, hot dogs are very regional and very subjective all over the country. I mean, I can tell you we sell different products in all different parts of the country just because of what the people grew up on there. You know, like you guys are New York guys, right?
Yep.
You grew up on beef, right?
Absolutely.
You know, you didn't grow up on pork and beef. If you go up to New England, you go up to Maine, you go up to Connecticut area, they're pork and beef. You know, the Portuguese culture up in Boston, all pork and beef. You go to Chicago, clearly it's all beef, just like New York. So things are regional. Southern California, big Latino community, very pork and beef driven. So, you know, it's like, who makes the best hot dog? I always say, it depends who you talk to and where they're from.
Yeah, we've had on Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. He is an authority on the regional hot dogs. You know, how New York has their dirty water dogs and Chicago has their, you know, however they serve it and what the toppings are. It's fascinating to hear that, which makes me want to go to Nathan's in Coney Island. Everybody into Nathan's in Coney Island if you are from this area. What makes a Nathan's hot dog so good?
You know, I hate to burst your bubble, but Nathan's is not an American brand anymore. It's owned by a company in Wuhan, China.
Look
That's
at that.
True story. If you want to Google it, it's on there. It's all public record. I think
it's Nathan's, the name then.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you go to Nathan's Coney Island and get a hot dog, and then you go to Nathan's in the supermarket and buy a hot dog, and you eat them side by side, I don't think you're going to have the same product, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's about where you get a Nathan's hot dog, my personal opinion. I think what makes Nathan's so good is the nostalgic history of it. You know, people are drawn to that nostalgia. You know, we personally make hot dogs completely different than anywhere else for that reason. We want to create our own fan base, our own kids, nostalgia, people that grow up with our hot dogs. We listen to what people kind of want, and we kind of create things to them. You know, going back to the cooking method you were talking about in New York, like if you look at our website, our pork and beef naturally cased product, that's a dirty water dog. It's got a coarse grind. It's designed to be cooked in a dirty water with our seasoning packets and snappy, juicy. Now that dog, the emulsion is completely different than my beef dog. My beef dog that we launched the brand with has got a tighter emulsion where we recommend griddling that low and slow in some foil to let it naturally, you know, caramelize and get a Maillard reaction and, you know, that snappy, juicy, beefy hot dog. If you put that hot dog in water and cook it dirty, it will still be good, but it's not going to be as good as the pork and beef because of the way the emulsion is. Our beefy butcher dog, we designed it to be cooked in both fashions. It's good watered, it's good grilled, that's a whole different product. But, you know, we realize since we naturally smoke our product, we don't add any beef flavorings, we don't add any beef, or I don't know what it's called, but the artificial smoke or soy protein or gluten. I mean, there's so much that you see in some of these products that have just been accepted, and that's fine until people really know what it is. You know, that stuff creates a certain flavor, including MSG, right? So, you know, all those brands kind of have that product in it, hence why they have sub products that don't have that in there you see now on the shelf.
Well, you know, Ralph, when we had your hot dogs, and we've had them at the 2 years in a row, and the first year, I had never had a hot dog like that in my life. It was so good.
Oh, thank you so much.
So that when you were back that second time, I was like, Jeff, he's back. I was so excited. Now, I cannot imagine. I ate that hot dog, and every bite, not to be an ad for your hot dogs, but every bite was so good. Whereas Nathan's, when they do that hot dog eating contest, I could not see doing that with yours because they're not tasting these hot dogs. It's almost like they're wasting them, and yours have to be savored. So that is a big difference.
Hot dogs have a bad rap of being cheap products, right? Like if you go to our website, we put a video on there, me at the plant, grinding the product, mixing the product. We're showing you what we're doing, right? You try to do that at some other brand's plant, you're not going to be happy with what you're seeing. It's probably going to look like some, science project, some slime or, whatever. And the thing is their products, a lot of their products are aerated, they're stabilized. So that's why you can wolf them down. They're pretty much light, airy, mushier product. When you ate my hot dog, you got that experience because you're eating whole muscle. You're eating a high protein product. You're not eating a emulsified, aerated, stabilized hot dog. You're eating true ground, high protein product. The levels of iron in our hot dog are probably higher than most in the industry. And that's how you go. That's what you go on to know how much protein is actually in the product. And flavor, it's one of those things. Like I call it the hot dog burp. Italians call it agita, right? When you eat a hot dog, you got it in your chest, right? My hot dogs, we see it all over online. My fiance is the queen of it. She's gonna kill me that I'm saying this. There'll be late nights. She'll eat 2 or 3 of them, plain on a bun, and she said it. I don't know how many times over, honey. I don't. It's not repeating on me. I don't have heartburn. I want to eat another one. Like, da da. So like that's our thing. Like you can eat our hot dog and feel good about yourself. And when you eat the other stuff, your body is reacting to whatever's in that product, and that's where your hot dog burps come from. A big part of it is we naturally smoke on maple wood. Not many people naturally smoke their hot dogs. I really don't know many brands that do. It's a very expensive cost. There's more room for things to go wrong, right? Instead of just steaming and liquid smoking and dredging. And that's what separates us. I'll be honest that the only negative thing we've heard about our hot dogs over the last couple of years is some people felt that they were too smoky. And I looked into that and I was like, you know what? These people are from New York. These people are from Chicago. These people are from Milwaukee. You go to those cities and there's not really a real smoky hot dog. Guys in Texas, guys in Florida, guys in the Midwest, California, everywhere else in the country are like, best hot dog I've ever ate. Don't complain about the smoke. So hence why the Beefy Butcher, we made that with a lighter smoke, focused more on fresh onion and garlic, more of an East Coast, New York style hot dog. That is the hot dog that Sarge's is actually serving right now. We realized that we have to cater to everyone's palate, especially if we're going to be a national brand. So we've invested every dollar of our life savings into this, where it's like, instead of going to buy a new house or a new car or something, we're kind of rolling it back in the business and building 2 new SKUs that are for the area that wants a less smoky hot dog, right? Or stadium that wants me to make a 3-to-1 jalapeno large 5.3 ounce dog for their stadium. That is going to be a product that I could sell for the next 5-10 years. A lot drives what we do with what people are looking for and getting. And I think that hot dogs skip the generation. I really do. I think the younger generation just doesn't really care about hot dogs per se until they have a product like ours, I'm proud to say. Education is everything. But the best is when I have older people who say, I haven't had we were in a golf outing at Saquon Casino, one of our casino clients. We had this gentleman, he was in his late 60s, come up to me and said, I haven't eaten a hot dog in 25 years. He's like, and that's one of the best hot dogs I've ever had in my life. And I looked at him like, come on. He's like, I am being dead serious. He's like, everyone told me on the course, it was on a golf course, I got to come to this hole and try this hot dog. So when we get stuff like that, we know we know we're doing something right. And also from what you're saying.
Ralph, we greatly appreciate your time. We're so glad that you were able to, that we were finally able to make this happen. But I have two more for you. First,
sure.
I'm sure it's advertising ploy or whatever, and I won't mention the brand, but growing up, there was a hot dog and their commercial was that they plump when you cook them. And they even I remember a commercial where it was the barbecue lid was closed and all of a sudden it would dent the lid. You'd see bang, bang, What was the point of that? Do we want a hot dog that plumps when we cook it?
Oh, man, you put me in the fire right now.
Oh, I don't mean to, but,
I'll say this. So you know how hot dogs are sized, 3-to-1, 5-to-1. You know what that means, right? So 3-to-1's 3 to a pound, 5-to-1's 5 to a pound.
Okay.
Right? And so on and so on. So when we go, let's say we go against a brand that you're mentioning, or a brand like Nathan's per se, they'll have the customer will be buying their 4-to-1 hot dog. So that means they get 4 hot dogs to a pound. I'll show up with my 5-to-1 hot dog, which should be smaller, right? When I do it, I show up, we take a raw weight on a scale, we cook the product exactly the same, and we take that product, we put it back on the scale cooked so they can see the loss of weight from the cooking. Then I stick it in a bun and I put it in front of them, right? When they look at it, they're like, how is your hot dog the same size as the 4-to-1 and yours is a 5-to-1? And I look them dead in the face and I say, mine is a whole muscle product. This is, trimmed, stabilized, whatever this brand puts in their product, which shrinks. So these are facts. So plumping, right? We don't have to get plump because we're using whole muscle. The plumping aspect is there to be a marketing tool to sell their product that is bigger and better and all that. I don't think people buy that anymore. And now when they see they can buy a premier product like mine and get an extra hot dog per pound, right? And it eats better, almost the same size, and, compared to the other one, it speaks volume.
I figured that. And last, as I said, delicious hot dogs, and you're growing. But do you ever consider and what do you do to avoid the falling into that trap of getting too big where your product, that fine line where your product, you can't supervise it as well, or you don't want it to suffer because you've now gotten so big? How do you keep that under check?
Well, we work directly with a small meat plant, family owned, great family, great people. We have a good relationship. They process all our formulas. As we've grown, we've worked with them to let them know, how we're going up in business. I control who buys our product. So when a distributor, US Foods, Cisco, people like that, buy our products, they have to purchase it through me, right? So it's a hands-on experience. So if there's a customer like Pig Beast says, hey, we really want this hot dog, that hot dog, they put me in touch with their distributor. I speak to them directly. We set it up with them. They cut me a purchase order. I ship them direct the product, usually a pallet or two to start. That is what's been able for us to control where it goes, who we sell it to, and where our brand is. I will say that, we've had some experiences where, people have bought our product and put it on a roller grill with a different brand, and they said it was that brand and it was ours and it wasn't theirs. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. That's the distributor doing that. So as we grow, I would say every 100,000 pounds more, per year, we try to control our distributors, how many distributors have our product per state. We make sure our client base fits our brand. We're not just going out trying to sell to anyone, right? We actually turn people down sometimes just because their branding, their style of place doesn't really fit our product, and it just wouldn't work. That's how we control it now. As far as on a plant level, it's a work in progress. I mean, anything that goes up in manufacturing, you have to adjust. You know, you have to adjust everything from your meat buy to your labor to your, buying of certain casings that we use, and just keeping up with, materials and what's going on in the industry. Everything has to be attended to. So we take our time. We don't force things. As much as we have grown, we did it gradually, and we knew we were going to be in, for example, in 3 distributors in New York. We knew what products we were sending there. We knew Pig Beach, for example, was serving our land case products and people were loving them. And then all of a sudden we said, you know what? The ingredients for these 2 items, we need to up this in the next 2 months, because there's going to be a lot of people that go to Pig Beach, have this hot dog, and whether they're another bar or another restaurant, they're going to reach out. So controlling where everything goes is the main key. And then from there, we have an idea of what items to invest in to buy more of. Does that make sense for material purposes?
Yeah. We thank you for coming on. If you could tell everyone how, if they're not near one of the places that has your hot dogs, how does somebody that's listened to this and is now salivating and has to have your hot dogs, how do they get them?
Our best way is through e-commerce on our website. We have 2 land case products on there that are the 2 hot dogs we started the brand on. Those, actually, you tasted those at Pig Beach. That's the best way for now. We're still a small company. We're trying to get better shipping, with FedEx and whatnot. We try to do our best with that. That is the best way, because we were able to send nationally through FedEx.
And I just want to point out to go to the website, Snap-O-Razzo.com. There's a whole page of testimonials. Let's go and read one. And I quote, "A hot dog that tastes great is one thing. A hot dog that tastes great and doesn't give you agita is another." Somebody named Regina Bonello. I don't know if you know her or not, but that's a pretty good review.
You know what? That's kind of amazing you picked that one out of all those. That was actually my sister, who passed away about a year and a half ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's okay. No, that was a true statement from her, which had to be on the website. So yeah, all those statements are from those people. We have a lot more. We just haven't updated them. Look, it's like people like yourself, when they eat it, it makes them think like, wow, this is something totally different, and we pride ourselves on that.
Mm-hmm. No, Ralph, we thank you for joining us on Baseball and BBQ. Get the great hot dog. You're on Facebook and you're on what other social media? You're on Instagram.
Instagram.
Thank you very much. Go to Snap-O-Razzo.com. Check it out. Order the hot dog. It's fantastic. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you very much, Ralph.
Thank you so much, guys. Talk soon.
Thank you very much, Ralph. I'm glad that we finally got him on. Jeff, everybody thinks that, I wouldn't say everybody, but, there's hot dogs and then there's hot dogs.
Right.
And he makes a really good hot dog.
He does. And, he's explained in the interview, his process and how he does it. And it's really good hot dogs.
Yeah. It's almost like, I guess it's sort of like getting a piece of a steak that's just like low grade steak and then getting a real prime grade of steak. That's the difference with his hot dogs. We want to thank Ralph Perazzo. We want to thank Ira Burkow. And I want to thank you, Jeff.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you.
And you are welcome. And I want to tell everybody that we are brought to you by Bet Online. It is where the game starts.
And I just want to remind everybody, if they want to get in touch with us, give us a call at 516-855-8214. Email us at baseballandbbq@gmail.com. Make a comment on our Facebook page.